for the first time in a long time, and we've got to remember that this is a first summer transfer window for Ruben Amorim, and when you think about that, it evokes memories of Jose's first season. Remember when we got Pogba, Ollie's first season when he spent £80 million on Harry Maguire, Ten Hag's first season when he spent £80 million on Anthony. We should be getting that type of a summer transfer window out of Amorim, but what we should also be getting is a clear out. A clear out that's been well overdue at this football club, and the Bruno conversation is gone. We've left our opinions there. He stays, we move, but there are plenty of others like that cooking up at the moment. So we'll get into who is likely to be going. One of the first reports I want to start off this morning was coming from the Mail, talking about Onana, Garnacho, and Mainu likely to leave Manchester United this summer. We also want to add in a couple of other players into that equation as well. So where are we with these exits and how important are they to the incomings? And Mbeumo this morning, as we look at it, lots and lots of people reporting this last night. Brentford want 50 plus add-ons. That's what they want. Man United are going to have to pay that because there are clubs out there that would pay that, and just because Mbeumo wants to come to Manchester United, Brentford don't have to package him up and, you know, send him there with all the best. They want the best price they can get. They'll do the deal because Mbeumo wants to go. They'll do the deal because it's a good deal. But Man United really need to move on this quickly. There's just no point like trying to barter with Brentford all summer because they'll hold it. As we said at the start of the week, they will dig in and we will waste time, and we haven't got time. The reality is we paid £62 million for Cunha, and Brentford have got every right to say we want the same for Mbeumo. Hello everybody, today's clip is supported by Sleeper. Before we dive in, let me tell you a bit more about Sleeper. This app is making serious waves. It was the #1 downloaded sports app in the US during the NFL season, even beating heavyweights such as ESPN and Yahoo. Sleeper isn't just popular, it's because they truly deliver the best fantasy experience. You get deeper customization, more league options, and all the bells and whistles that make managing your fantasy team a blast. But that's not all. Sleeper is growing a fantastic community with several million people using it daily for their sports fix. Sleeper has a broad appeal and is genuinely built for everyone. So, if you're looking to up your fantasy game, make sure to check out Sleeper by clicking the link in the video description. Trust me, you won't regret it. So United need to get creative with installments and add-ons, and I'm sure they will do that, and from what we're hearing, they're moving quickly on that. Now, some people are saying, why are we not parking it and going for Gyökeres? There could be a multitude of reasons for that. We might not want to do the Gyökeres deal until after this financial window at the end of June. We might not be able to work on the Gyökeres deal because he might be waiting for Arsenal. So there's a multitude of reasons. Logically, you would park Mbeumo and spend the money on Gyökeres and then come back to Mbeumo when you've sold some players. Very logic, but we don't have that logic because we don't have that information. So I think you work with what you've got and you work with what you know, and Mbeumo I expect to happen very, very quickly. And remember, we've got so many other deals to do. Rashford, Garnacho, the keeper, other players we want to bring in as well. So yeah, Mbeumo I expect to happen. I've got a funny feeling we might pay 45 million and give him 20 in add-ons, but it's going to be somewhere between 45 and 55, isn't it? So I'm not concerned about that. I think a here we go, a deal done is imminent on Mbeumo very soon. To coin the phrase of Fabrizio, what's very soon? Well, it's concrete, it's very soon, but ultimately it could be any time between the next hour and next 2 weeks, couldn't it? But it will happen. With regards to Gyökeres, definitely a delay on that deal. Doesn't mean it's happening. Obviously, we've had encouraging updates coming in from multiple sources about this. Ben Jacobs on the show this 24 hours ago with Beth. The thing with Gyökeres is that you've got to get the money. And this is something where Amorim is absolutely saying, look, these are the players you can move on. And some of these players might shock people, but these are the players you can move on to get me that player. To the extent that he'd rather be short in other areas to get that player. So we need to sell to buy. We don't have the financial capability. Whether PSR or FFP says we can, you still got to have the money. PSR or FFP can say you can spend £200 million without getting points deducted. You've still got to have the £200 million. And I think that's where some people go missing when it comes to the financial restrictions in the Premier League. I remember a few years ago, I think Spurs could spend £300 million. They didn't, because Daniel Levy's in charge and he doesn't want to spend £300 million and maybe doesn't have £300 million. So we've still got to generate that cash. So I'd say for the moment, Gyökeres, we're probably going to move forward with stories and excitement, but I don't expect that deal to be happening very quickly until we get something lined up in relation to sales. What I have been told is, with regards to sales, it's not like we've got to sell Anthony, Rashford, Garnacho, Casemiro, whatever, and then we can move for Gyökeres. We can definitely move for Gyökeres before the sales are done, but we've got to get movement on those sales so that we know they're going to happen. Obviously, this is a very key signing and there's going to be a lot of competition. So, yeah, that's where we are with Gyökeres and Burmo in regards to incomings. And look, they're very much the updates we've had for the last sort of 24 hours. So there's nothing massively new there. And Burmo, we move forward. That could happen very soon. Gyökeres, bit of a delay, need to sell to buy. The key for me and the exciting point for me is the Amorim clear out. For years, we've spoken on, I remember the Van Gaal days. I remember like 10 years ago talking about summer transfer windows and saying we've got to get rid of the deadwood. We've played at it, we've not done it, we've ignored it, we've sort of done it, but we've never properly done it. And I think this summer, knowing what Ruben Amorim did in that first summer at Sporting, where he basically cleared out 2 football teams, it was into the 20s, I'm hoping that we're going to see a clear out of the like that's been overdue for a decade. The noises are good and the prospects of it happening are good. The issue with it is it's probably going to upset some. Bruno was never a player that Amorim wanted to clear out, but beyond the obvious, and the obvious is Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, those 4 players, whether you like it or not, are inevitably leaving this football club in one way, shape or form. Hopefully through sales, potentially through loans, but they're not staying. So those 4, we know they're going, and it's a case of realistically, Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony's agents are all working now to try and get deals done quickly because they want to be playing for their new clubs in July with the World Cup year coming up. So those deals will happen. Sancho's probably a little bit slower. But it's the deals beyond that are interesting. And again, this morning, talk of Mainu, talk of Onana, talk of Rasmus leaving. And I think they're the 3 players that I would probably say I'd be locked in on at the moment. But I wouldn't actually rule out a couple of other players potentially leaving Manchester United. And I'm not talking about Bienda. I'm talking about the likes of Collier. And I'm talking about the likes of Xerxes. I would not be surprised. I think they're lower hanging fruit in the sense that, actually that makes them easier to do. But they're lower priorities. Collier, I don't think will sell, but I have a feeling he might be loaned out because last season was just so disappointing for him injury-wise. It was meant to be his breakthrough season. And I just don't know whether Amorim will want to keep a player like that around for another year that may not have the fitness capabilities. It might be a case of moving him out on loan. And Xerxes, it just never seems to change, does it? So I think with those 2, I'd certainly keep that in mind. But look, let's start off with a lot of people talking about this in the chat as well. Why is Mainu coming up again? So I saw it. I think Simon Jones or somebody in the Mail was talking about Mainu again, and there wasn't a lot of substance to it. So look, obviously I've been away for a week. I haven't really spoken to anybody. Back this morning, lots of messages, lots of WhatsApps, lots of back and forth. So as you know, we've had good information over the last. Sporadically good information over the last few months. The Onana story in the international break, the Delap story, before, April, I think it was. Garnacho leaving before, the morning after the Europa League. Yoro starting in the final a few days before. Semenyo not being on the menu. So what we've been told this morning in relation to Mainu is that Casemiro wants a midfielder at Manchester United this summer. And it's basically Casemiro or Mainu that needs to be shipped out for that to happen. because he wants another midfielder. Now, I don't know. This might not even... I mean, look, let me tell you the story and then I'll give you my opinion. So, Casemiro or Mainu needs to go to generate the space and funds for another midfielder to come in. Obviously, Eriksen's gone, but he wasn't really seen as an option anyway because he wasn't playing and there's a bit of wage there and it's a bit like Lindelof. But when you look at the midfield roster as it is at the moment, you've got Bruno, you've got Ugarte, you've got Mount, you've got Casemiro, you've got Mainu, and you've got Collier. You've got 6 players there. And you do have prospects. You know, people talk a lot about Kone. He probably will go on loan. But Amorim, none of those players are Amorim signings. And a lot of people are sort of looking at it and going, we just keep Casemiro and Mainu, we don't need a midfielder. This is a really important position in any football team, let alone Amorim's team. This is the engine room. So the only player he's brought into this team is Dorgu. And Amorim wants to bring in, obviously we'll talk about the goalkeeper in a minute, but Amorim wants to bring in players in his mould and take responsibility for his rebuild. And to do that, he wants key players in key positions that are his players. And the midfield will be untouched if he doesn't bring in a midfielder. Now, who that midfield is likely to be, I mean, I get the feeling that if this goes to plan, and this is just a prediction, I get the feeling that if we do move on a midfielder, then we will end up in a situation very similar to that of last season, whereby at the start of June, we had no idea we were going to end up signing Ugarte, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Yoro, Xerxes. They weren't really players that we were looking at yet. Maybe Xerxes and Yoro a little bit, but they were, there were players that we weren't even talking about. So maybe there's a midfielder we don't even know about at the moment. But Amorim definitely wants a midfielder. To do that, you need to move a midfielder on. Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video because we all know only legends like videos and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching as always.